The USS Argonaut glided silently through the Orion Arm's outer reaches, its quantum sensors probing the darkness ahead. Captain Elena Torres stood at the bridge's observation window, her weathered face reflected against the star-filled void. 20 years of deep space exploration hadn't prepared her for what they'd just detected. "Confirmation, Captain," Lieutenant Park called from his station. "The energy signatures match no known patterns in our database. We're definitely looking at artificial structures, and they're under attack." The holographic display showed a crystalline space station, its elegant spires surrounded by what appeared to be organic-looking vessels. Green energy pulses from the attackers slowly ate away at the station's shields. "Life signs?" Elena asked, already moving toward her command chair. "Over 10,000 civilians in the station, Captain. The attacking force, it's harder to get a read. Their ships appear partially biological." Elena's jaw tightened. First contact protocols were clear: observe, document, avoid interference. But those protocols had been written by people sitting safely behind desks on Earth, not watching a massacre unfold. Combat status of the station? Their defensive capabilities are impressive, but failing. Shield collapse estimated in 17 minutes. The Argonaut wasn't a warship. The exploration vessel carried minimal armaments, just enough to defend against pirates and natural hazards. But it also carried humanity's most advanced sensors, engines, and electronic warfare systems. "Get me everything you can about their shield frequencies. And warm up the QC arrays." Her crew turned to look at her, understanding dawning in their eyes. The quantum entanglement communication arrays were designed for faster-than-light communication, not combat. But Elena hadn't earned her command by thinking inside the box. "Ma'am," Commander Sarah Chin, her XO, stepped closer. "First contact protocols will have to be rewritten," Elena finished. "I'm not watching 10,000 civilians die when we might be able to help. Now, let's show these attackers why making assumptions about unknown species is dangerous." The next 15 minutes were a blur of activity. The Argonaut science team analyzed the alien shield harmonics while engineering reconfigured the QC arrays. They had one shot at this. "Unknown vessels are launching another attack wave," Park reported. "Station shields at 12%. "Take us in," Elena ordered. Full power to the modified QC array. The Argonaut accelerated toward the battle, its presence finally noticed by the attacking forces. Several organic ships broke off their assault on the station, turning to face this new threat. "Now, Lieutenant Park." The QC array fired, not with destructive energy, but with precisely calculated quantum signals. The organic ship's biological components relied on quantum coherence for their neural networks. And the Argonaut had just introduced quantum noise into their systems. 3 enemy vessels spun out of control, their biological processors temporarily scrambled. The others pulled back, clearly reassessing this new threat. "Station shields are stabilizing," Chin reported. "They're adapting their frequencies using the interference pattern we created." "Clever." Elena allowed herself a small smile. The crystalline beings in the station were quick studies. "Open a channel, all frequencies. Let's introduce ourselves properly." The response came in multiple formats: radio waves, quantum signals, even crystalline harmonics. The universal translators took a moment to process it. "This is Station Commander Ninetal of the Crystalline Concordat. Your intervention is unexpected, but appreciated. May we know who addresses us?" Elena straightened in her chair. "This is Captain Elena Torres of the United Earth ship Argonaut. We come in peace, though circumstances have made this a rather unconventional first meeting." There was a pause, then, "Indeed, Captain Torres. It seems we have much to discuss. But first, our mutual problem remains." The organic ships had regrouped, adapting to the quantum interference. Their next attack would be stronger. "Agreed, Commander. Permission to coordinate our defensive efforts." "Granted. And Captain, welcome to the wider galaxy. It seems humanity's entrance will be remembered." Elena turned to her crew, seeing the same mix of determination and excitement in their eyes that she felt. "All right, people, let's show the galaxy what humans can do when backed into a corner. Lieutenant Park, get me firing solutions for all QC arrays." Commander Chin, coordinate with the station's defensive systems. As her crew jumped into action, Elena watched the organic ships begin their approach. First contact had definitely not gone according to protocol. But then, humanity's greatest achievements rarely did. The real test was just beginning, and she intended to prove that humanity's ingenuity and determination could stand alongside any species in the galaxy. The battle was about to begin in earnest, and the USS Argonaut, an exploration vessel never meant for combat, was about to demonstrate why underestimating human creativity was a dangerous mistake. The organic ships retreated into quantum space, leaving the Argonaut and the crystalline station to make proper introductions. But this was only the beginning. Within hours, quantum communications from across the sector painted a disturbing picture. They call themselves the Harvesters, Commander Ninetal explained through the newly established communication link. Their crystalline form shimmered with complex patterns as they shared tactical data. They consume civilizations, incorporating useful biological and technological elements into their collective. Elena studied the holographic star chart showing reported harvester movements. They're not retreating. They're regrouping. Correct. And their next target appears to be your colony world, New Eden. New Eden, humanity's first extrasolar colony, home to 2 million settlers. The Argonaut's quantum sensors had already confirmed Ninetal's analysis. A harvester fleet was gathering at the edge of the system. We've transmitted warnings to Earth Command, but reinforcements won't arrive in time, Commander Chin reported. New Eden's orbital defenses were designed for pirates, not this. Elena's mind raced through possibilities. The Argonaut's QC trick wouldn't work twice. The harvesters had already adapted. But that adaptation itself suggested something. Commander Ninetal, your people have fought them before. What's their primary weakness? Their strength is their weakness. The harvesters adapt quickly, but they rely on collective information sharing. They expect enemies to follow logical patterns. Elena smiled. Then let's be illogical. Commander Chin, contact New Eden's defense force. Tell them to prepare for Protocol Omega. Protocol Omega wasn't in any official manual. It was a theoretical defense strategy Elena had developed years ago, deemed too unconventional by military strategists. Now it was their only hope. The Harvester fleet emerged from quantum space 3 days later, 50 organic capital ships surrounded by swarms of smaller craft. Their biological sensors probed New Eden's defenses, finding exactly what they expected: standard orbital platforms, ground-based energy weapons, and a small defensive fleet. The trap was set. All units, execute Protocol Omega, Elena commanded. New Eden's orbital platforms suddenly began to fall, their engines firing in seemingly random patterns. The Harvesters' tactical networks identified this as defensive failure, predicting easy victory. They were wrong. The falling platforms ignited their fusion cores in carefully calculated sequences, creating a web of gravitational distortions. Harvester ships, attempting to adapt to each local distortion, found themselves torn apart by the overlapping fields. But that was just the beginning. Ground-based weapons fired into space, not at the harvesters, but at precise points in the gravitational web. The energy beams bent and refracted, creating an unpredictable storm of destructive power. The harvesters' adaptive shields, optimized for direct attacks, couldn't cope with the chaos. They're attempting to reconfigure their approach, Ninetal observed through the quantum link. Fascinating. Your species thinks differently than any we've encountered. Elena watched as the Harvester fleet split into smaller groups, each adopting different defensive strategies. That's what they don't understand. Humans don't just adapt, we improvise. The Argonaut moved through the battle, its modified sensors identifying patterns in the chaos that only human intuition could exploit. Each time the Harvesters developed a counter to one tactic, they found themselves vulnerable to 3 more. New Eden's civilian quantum networks, repurposed through Elena's protocols, created false sensor readings that sent Harvester ships crashing into each other. Mining drones, their basic programming rewritten on the fly, sacrificed themselves to deliver electromagnetic pulses into the organic ship's neural networks. But the Harvesters were learning, adapting faster than ever. Several ships broke through the defenses, launching landing craft toward the surface. Ground forces are ready, Commander Chin reported. Colonel Santos says Protocol Omega Phase 2 is in effect. Elena nodded grimly. The space battle was just the beginning. On the surface, human ingenuity would face its greatest test. The fate of New Eden and humanity's place in the galaxy hung in the balance. But if the Harvesters thought crushing a human colony would be easy, they were about to learn why humanity had survived countless catastrophes on Earth. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent isn't the strongest or most advanced. It's the one who turns desperation into innovation. As New Eden's ground forces engaged the Harvester landing parties, Intelligence Officer Maya Patel studied the quantum sensor data aboard the Argonaut. Something about the Harvesters' attack pattern bothered her. Captain Torres, I've detected a pattern in their quantum communications. They're not just coordinating, they're receiving instructions from somewhere beyond the system. Elena leaned over the holographic display. A command center? Better, Maya's eyes lit up. Their entire collective consciousness has a focal point. The ships here are just extensions. This changed everything. The Harvesters weren't just an invasion force, they were appendages of a larger organism. And like any organism, hitting the brain could paralyze the body. Operation Deep Strike was born. The Argonaut slipped away from New Eden's battle, using the chaos as cover. Maya's team had calculated the origin point of the Harvesters' quantum signals. What they found in the Theta sector defied explanation. A massive organic structure floated in the void, part ship, part living computer, part quantum relay. The Harvesters' true form. Their consciousness exists in quantum state, Maya explained to the strike team. They don't just share information, they share existence. It's why they adapt so quickly. Lieutenant Sarah O'Neill, leader of the strike team, checked her quantum phase rifle. So we're not just fighting ships, we're fighting one giant distributed intelligence? Exactly. And that's their weakness. They're so connected, so integrated, that they've never faced an enemy that could attack their quantum consciousness directly. The strike team's mission was unprecedented. Infiltrate the organic structure using prototype quantum phase technology, plant specialized disruption devices, and escape before the entire collective realized what was happening. Sarah led her team through corridors that seemed to pulse with alien life. The structure's internal architecture defied conventional physics, spaces folding in on themselves in ways that only made sense in quantum terms. They're not detecting us, Corporal Zhang whispered, checking his sensors. The phase shift is working. The quantum phase technology, developed from studying the crystalline concordat science, allowed the team to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. To the Harvester's senses, they were quantum ghosts. But the deeper they went, the stranger things became. The walls showed images from 1,000 worlds, memories of civilizations the Harvesters had consumed. And something else, fear. They're afraid, Maya realized, monitoring the quantum signals. Not of us, but of something else. Something coming. The team reached the central chamber, a vast space filled with crystalline structures that seemed to contain pure consciousness. The Harvester's quantum brain. Plant the disruptors, Sarah ordered. Timer set 4-. She never finished. The chamber's quantum field suddenly shifted, and a voice spoke directly into their minds. We see you now, humans. You believe us monsters, but we are salvation. What comes from the void between galaxies will consume all. We harvest to preserve, to prepare, to survive. Images flooded their minds, horrors beyond comprehension approaching from intergalactic space. The Harvesters weren't invaders, they were running. Building an army to face something worse. Sarah's hand hovered over the disruptor's trigger. This changed everything, or did it? The Harvesters still consumed civilizations against their will, turned unique species into biological components of their collective. We can face what's coming together, Sarah transmitted back. As allies, not as parts of your collective. The chamber pulsed with conflicting quantum signals as the collective consciousness debated. But Sarah had already made her decision. The disruptors were armed, but not to destroy, to offer choice. The quantum pulse they released didn't shatter the Harvester consciousness. Instead, it created quantum barriers between segments of the collective, giving its components independence while maintaining their connection. For the first time in their existence, the parts of the Harvester Collective could choose unity rather than have it forced upon them. The battle for New Eden ended not with destruction, but with transformation. The Harvesters withdrew, their consciousness forever altered by human ingenuity and compassion. But the greater threat they warned of still loomed. Humanity had gained powerful allies, but they'd also learned a terrifying truth: something worse than the Harvesters was coming. The real war was just beginning. Dr. Aisha Patel's quantum lab on New Eden became humanity's front line against the approaching intergalactic threat. The crystalline Concordat shared their advanced physics knowledge, while reformed Harvester collectives provided insights into quantum consciousness. The Void Dwellers operate on principles we barely comprehend, Aisha explained to the combined human-alien science team. They exist partially outside our universe's physical laws. The holographic simulations showed dark entities moving between galaxies, consuming everything in their path. The Harvesters had fled them for millions of years. But that's their weakness, she continued. They can't fully interact with our reality without becoming vulnerable to it. Aisha's breakthrough came from combining three technologies: human quantum computing, crystalline phase shifting, and Harvester consciousness linking. The result was the Q-Gate, a weapon that could force Void Dwellers to fully materialize in our universe. Testing began in deep space. The first Q-Gate prototype created a localized field where physics itself could be manipulated. But the power requirements were enormous. We'll need to sacrifice an entire star to power the final version, Commander Chen calculated. And we only get one shot. The Void Monitor Network detected the first incursion 3 months later. A Void Dweller probe entered the Milky Way, its presence causing reality to warp around it. Captain Torres coordinated the response from the upgraded Argonaut. All ships maintain quantum link. Remember the simulations. The combined fleet, human, crystalline, and reformed Harvester vessels, surrounded the probe. The Q-Gate activated, its energy web forcing the probe to fully materialize. For a moment, everyone saw the Void Dweller's true form, a geometry that hurt human eyes to perceive. Then the concentrated fire of 3 civilizations' weapons turned it to atoms. But the probe's death scream echoed through quantum space, reaching its masters in the void between galaxies. The real invasion was about to begin. Aisha worked frantically to improve the Q-Gate while the Allied fleet prepared defensive positions. Earth Command authorized Project Starlight, the controlled destruction of a red dwarf to power the final weapon. Torres watched the preparations from the Argonaut's bridge. They had one chance to turn the Void Dweller's greatest strength into a fatal weakness. Humanity had transformed from newcomers to key players in galactic survival, all because they approached problems differently than ancient civilizations. The Void Dwellers were coming. But this time, the galaxy was ready to fight back. The Void Dwellers arrived in force, a fleet of reality-warping entities that darkened the galaxy's edge. Earth's quantum sensors detected their approach before visual confirmation, giving the Allied forces precious time to execute their plan. Multiple breaches detected, reported Lieutenant Park from the Argonaut's sensor station. They're testing our defenses across 17 sectors. The combined fleet took position around the targeted red dwarf. Human ships provided tactical coordination, crystalline vessels maintained the quantum shield matrix, and reformed Harvester bioships prepared to engage in close combat. Q-Gate charging at 60%, Aisha's voice came through the quantum link. The star's containment field is holding, but we'll only get one chance at this. The Void Dwellers attacked in waves, each more devastating than the last. Their partial existence in normal space made conventional weapons largely useless. Only coordinated quantum strikes could damage them. The Argonaut led a desperate defense of the Q-Gate installation. Captain Torres watched as reality itself bent and twisted around them. Ships vanished into dimensional rifts, only to emerge seconds later having experienced years of subjective time. They're adapting to our quantum attacks, Commander Chen reported. Each wave learns from the last. But this time, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The crystalline concordats' phase-shifting technology protected key vessels, while harvester bioships sacrificed themselves to disrupt Void Dweller coordination. The battle reached its climax as the Q-Gate approached full power. The Void Dwellers, sensing the threat, concentrated their attack. Space itself began to tear apart. Q-Gate at 95%, Aisha announced. Star containment failing. It's now or never. Torres made her decision. All ships, execute Protocol Omega Final. Draw them in. The Allied fleet executed a maneuver that appeared to be a catastrophic failure. Ships shut down defenses, presenting easy targets. The Void Dwellers, unable to resist such vulnerability, moved to consume them all at once. That's when Torres gave the final command. Activate the Q-Gate. The red dwarf collapsed, its energy channeled through the Q-Gate. A wave of forced reality expanded outward, compelling everything within its radius to exist fully in normal space. The Void Dwellers' true forms were exposed, and in that moment of vulnerability, the combined firepower of three civilizations struck. The battle's conclusion would be studied for generations. The Void Dwellers, for the first time in their ancient existence, faced extinction. Those that survived fled back to intergalactic space, their very nature changed by the encounter. But victory came at a terrible cost. Half the Allied fleet was lost, and the Q-Gate's activation had destabilized local spacetime. A region spanning 50 light-years would remain quarantined for centuries. Yet in the aftermath, something unprecedented emerged, a true galactic civilization, forged in the fires of an impossible war. Humanity, the crystalline concordat, and the reformed harvesters began the long process of rebuilding, sharing, and preparing for whatever threat might come next. The galaxy had changed forever, and humanity's innovative spirit had played a crucial role in its survival. 3 months after the Void Dwellers' retreat, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on Earth. The crystalline concordat's towering form stood alongside human diplomats, while reformed harvester consciousness proxies participated through quantum links. Captain Torres, now Admiral, addressed the assembly. The war showed us something crucial. Unity through choice is stronger than unity through force. The Galactic Council's first act was establishing the Quantum Defense Initiative. Earth's quantum labs became training centers where species shared knowledge freely. The harvester's biological technology merged with human innovation and crystalline precision, creating advances that would have taken millennia to develop separately. But challenges remained. The Void Dwellers' brief materialization had revealed disturbing truths. They weren't the only threat lurking between galaxies. The Q-Gate incident had attracted attention from entities even the harvesters feared. Dr. Aisha Patel led the research into the space-time anomalies left by the battle. Each tier shows us glimpses of other realities, she explained. Some beautiful, some nightmarish. We've drawn the attention of beings who watch between dimensions. The galaxy began to change. Human quantum consciousness technology allowed species to share experiences directly, fostering understanding impossible through conventional diplomacy. The crystalline concordat's phase shift drives revolutionized travel, while harvester biological engineering transformed hostile worlds into habitable ones. Yet with each advance came responsibility. The reformed harvesters shared memories of civilizations they'd consumed, countless cultures lost forever. Humanity's role as innovators earned them respect, but also made them targets for forces that feared change. Admiral Torres stood at the Argonaut's observation window, watching Earth's quantum defense grid shimmer. The ship's new hybrid systems pulsed with combined human, crystalline, and harvester technology. "We've changed the galaxy," Commander Chin said, joining her. "Not all changes will be welcome." "Change is what humans do best," Torres replied. "We adapt, we innovate, we survive. But now we don't face the future alone." The Argonaut's quantum sensors detected a new anomaly forming at the galaxy's edge. Another test, another threat, another opportunity to prove that unity through diversity was the greatest strength of all. The price of victory had been high, but it had purchased something priceless, a future where different species stood together not because they had to, but because they chose to. Humanity had entered the galactic stage as newcomers. They would help lead it into the future as innovators, unifiers, and proof that the greatest power comes not from conquest, but from cooperation. The next challenge was already approaching. But this time, the galaxy was ready. Together,